Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Famiboards Discussion Club, a podcast for and by the Famiboards community. Today we'll be discussing the recent announcement from Nintendo about Charles Martinet stepping down from voicing Mario and more, giving some thoughts and predictions on the potential upcoming Nintendo Direct in September, and we'll be diving into some topics put forward by you, our community members. If you'd like to get in on the discussion as well, please be sure to swing by this podcast companion thread on Famiboards.com. I'm WestEgg, and I'm once again joined by Irene.
Hello.
And also my fellow My Adventures with Superman enjoyer, VolcanicDynamo.
Episode 9 was so good. I don't want to spoil it.
It was very good.
I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it yet, but please go watch it. You have a week until the final episode of the season airs. Do it for me. Do it for WestEgg. Do it for Clark.
All right. So today we're going to be starting off by with a question from one of our community members that I thought was pretty interesting. So it was from Commissire, and Commissire asked, buying games, be it digitally or physically, can add up to a pretty penny in the long run. So what are your strategies or advice for maintaining a financially responsible gaming hobby?
All right, I'll jump in with this one. This is a very good question, and I think a lot of it comes down to setting your goals and understanding like what else is going on, right? So for me, there are specific games I know that I'm going to want day one. Usually like the big Nintendo releases, but those and indies are probably the only games that I will buy day one. Everything else, I will wait on, Other than that, recognizing that a lot of times it's not even, you got to balance both your money and your time. Honestly, part of the reason why I don't buy as many games as I used to is because I don't have the time to play those games. And also trying to take advantage of deals. Mm-hmm. Obviously, digital deals are everywhere, but recently there's been a new Best Buy Plus. If you're in the States, there's this new benefit where if you buy 2 Switch games, you get a third for free. And I've been taking advantage of that to pre-order and get more games that I probably would have gotten otherwise. This isn't a sponsored bit, by the way. I just think the service is pretty neat.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, that's very true. And I would say something to kind of just keep in mind is just generally good financial habits, because that will enable you to have more purchasing power, be able to save up easier. Something I would recommend, especially if you're younger or in college, get a credit card that has cash back and pay off the balance every month. That will accumulate. You'll help build your credit for future purchases. You won't gain any interest as long as you pay it off every month, and you'll just find one day when you look in your balance you have $50 or $60 you can put towards a game, and that's always very helpful. That's something that's helped me over the years.
Yeah, an easy way out answer would be simply go indie, because indie games are very affordable in comparison to AAA releases, but obviously that can also be a matter of taste. Maybe you're not that much into indie games, you're into more meatier full price experiences, so that would make it more like a matter of taste. But definitely, I'm not saying full go indie, but definitely keep a more open mind towards the market that has the lesser priced games, because I think you would be surprised as to how much more of the gaming culture and gaming art you can sort of discover by keeping a more open mind towards the indie game side of things. Because I just try to think about so many of great games I played, favorite games I played are $20 or $25, and mm-hmm. I'm not saying that indie games are inherently more superior to full price releases. It is a bit of an apples and oranges situation to compare, because they all aim for different kinds of experiences. But for me personally, just keeping an open mind about lesser priced games and try to approach lesser priced games with a more like willingness to open yourself up to those kinds of experiences, you can earn a lot from. You can earn a lot, I think, in the long run, from being open to and maybe get really into a couple of games that are $20 or $25. I can personally say a lot of examples like Short Hike and Sayonara Wild Hearts and the Milk games as games that are like, I can't believe these are like these fulfilling magical experiences that are like under $10 on the eShop.
Yeah, the eShop and especially Steam tend to have like deals pretty often, especially for indie games versus like the main AAA releases. That's definitely worth keeping an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So also in this past week, or not even this past week, in the past month or so, kind of one of the big stories in video games has been Baldur's Gate coming out and the success behind that and how that's kind of been like sweeping at least PC gaming and stuff by storm. So Meatbag had asked, in honor of Baldur's Gate 3, what job class did you pick if you played the game? Or if not, which class would you pick if you just went on a medieval fantasy adventure? Did either of you pick up Baldur's Gate?
I didn't.
I did not.
Okay.
Time has been difficult for me. There was a reason I wasn't on the last episode of the podcast, which you should all go check out, by the way, if you haven't seen it already. But if I was playing Baldur's Gate, or if I was doing a D&D campaign in general, I'd probably play Paladin. I've always had an affection for goody two-shoes types, and I like the mixture of strong defenses and protection, as well as that holy magic and the healing. So that's what I'd play.
I actually did pick up Baldur's Gate, and I've got two characters running. One is the one of the default characters, it's Gale the Wizard, and then I also made a Paladin character because I've always liked Paladins. It's funny because in actual D&D, when I've played, the characters I've played in the past were a rogue and a wizard, but I also kind of enjoy that Paladin archetype. Do you ever play like D&D or anything, Irene?
No, this is completely uncharted territory for me in terms of.
Okay, fair.
I did play a game called Citizen Sleeper recently, which is like has CRPG elements. I got used to it by playing the game, but when I started the game, I was like, oh, this is all the kinds of things I have never touched once in my life ever. All of the things with like perks and skill checks and dice rolls and everything. So I'm completely, I'm an absolute noob when it comes to those kinds of experiences and genres in games.
That's totally fair. All right, so to kind of get into the biggest news from the past week, we received information that Charles Martinet is stepping down from voicing Mario and the other members of the Mario cast, and he's going to instead be acting as a brand ambassador for Mario. So when that kind of happened, just like when you read that, what were your thoughts?
End of an era. Really an end of an era. He's been synonymous with the Mario name, and it's been such a huge part of Mario as an identity. So my first thought was being like, what is the future of this character? In a way, like what's the future of Mario? Mario's looking really bright, but a big part of Mario's identity is like in this huge uncertain cloud. So will they like use the same Mario samples forever and ever, or will they try to bring him a new kind of flavor? Hearing Mario without Charles Martinet is going to be hard to adjust to.
I think that they have already confirmed that they're not using his voice clips. It's a new actor for Mario Wonder.
So all of the new clips that you hear in the trailers, that's all not Martinet, and which it says something about the direction that they want to go in with the role. It's, hey, Martinet did a good job. He's defined the role. Just stick with doing something similar, which I think is the right move. You know, you treat it like Mickey Mouse. You know, obviously a new actor will put their spin on it, but the same general vibe, yeah, that's what you want to go. And that makes sense because even though Martinet was not the first Mario actor, we had Mario actors in anime adaptations and in the cartoons and all that. And those were all definitely good performances. Like, I still get a lot of nostalgia hearing, like, Captain Lou Albano's voice from the Super Show. It is undeniable that Martinet shaped the role and shaped the character in such a way that any replacement, anything that sounds slightly different, is gonna be seen as off. And that's what people were initially tipped off from when people were listening to the Mario Wonder trailer. It's a close approximation of the voice, but the performance definitely sounded different a little bit. So for a while there was speculation of, oh, is this a new voice actor? Is it something else? And the way I was doing is, hey, look, let's wait and see, if it is, it is. If it's not, it's not. But now we're actually at the point where, oh, that definitively is like a different voice and a different voice actor. And even though he's been doing the role for 30 years across games and across public appearances and all that kind of stuff, it's still very strange and very almost kind of shocking to hear the fact that he is leaving the role that he made famous in this new sort of Mario ambassador role, whatever that's going to be. So it's just, I still am trying to process it. I think I'll manage, but it's still almost shocking to me in a way.
So regarding the Mario brand ambassador role, to me it sounds like he's kind of going to be doing what he's been doing anyway, because Charles is very prolific with going to conventions and like video game events and stuff, representing Mario or just kind of himself. I was going to ask if either of you had been to like any convention where Martinet has been.
I wish. I really wish. I feel there were a couple opportunities where I almost got to meet him, but it never ended up working out.
So I actually did meet him once. This was at Indie PopCon. This was a while ago. But I remember it was towards the end of the day when they were packing up the tables and stuff. And I remember because he had like a speaker near him that was just playing the slide theme from Mario 64 on loop. And I just remember him like grabbing it and turning it off. It was just like, I'm done with listening to this for now. Because I mean, it'd been going on all day. But then like when he like turned to talk to us, he was just like still super cheerful, super like friendly, very genial. Like, in my understanding from what I've heard from people is that that's just kind of how he is. Like, that's he like loves the character. He loves going out and meeting people. And I remember I told the story on Famiboards, but I was like, I can't talk to Charles Martinet about voicing Mario. I've got to be cool and do a different subject. So I talked to him about Parthenax from Skyrim.
What?
Yeah. Oh wait, did you not know that he voiced Parthenax in Skyrim?
I did not know that, no.
Yeah, he's like have you like played through the story in Skyrim?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so like in Skyrim at some point you meet up with what's basically like a good dragon, but it has like this very deep voice that's like kind of what you'd expect a dragon to sound like. Yeah, and he voiced it. And like at some point in that game there's like kind of an extremist faction which is like, we need to kill that dragon anyway because dragon's bad and the like stuff is going on. So when I was talking to him, he's like, yeah, I remember getting to that part where they were like, oh, we should kill your character. He's like, oh, why do you want to kill me? I'm such a nice guy. Yeah, but it was a delight to meet him there, and like I definitely kind of treasure that memory. I also have a signed autograph card from him, which my brother actually gave that to me because he collects Topps baseball cards, and they do sometimes like limited releases of like various celebrity figures and stuff. So that's definitely like kind of a cool thing I've got in my collection.
That is very, very cool. I wonder if Martinet's planning on retiring from most acting performances or if he's just leaving the Mario role, because he just did he was one of the villains in like the latest Dragon Ball movie.
I think Mario in particular may be like a bit difficult for him, like as he gets older, just because Mario's like more high pitched and more like exuberant or whatever. And if you look at some of the other more recent roles he's done, like in the Mario movie, he did his Mario voice for the guy in the arcade, but he also did Mario's dad, which is kind of a bit lower, a bit more probably closer to his real speaking voice. And then in WarioWare Gold, he did a good bit of voice acting, which I think that's also kind of closer to how he normally speaks.
Speaking of weird, we have a new WarioWare game coming out this year. It's going to feel weird hearing the new voice actor for Wario, because him not voicing Mario is one thing, but then you realize he does Mario, he does Luigi, he does Wario, he does Waluigi, he does the baby forms, he's done various miscellaneous roles over the years. That's a lot of voices that are presumably going to be replaced. And honestly, I think I'm less ready to hear like the new Wario speaking in sentences than I am to hear this new Mario saying "wonderful" when he picks up the Wonder Flower and stuff. So we'll see how that goes.
Did either of you play through WarioWare Gold?
I love WarioWare Gold. It was so cool hearing all of the characters have full voice acting for the entire thing, and being able to see Charles like really flex his voice acting chops by portraying Wario in more of a way than he usually gets to. I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, I think that's to begin with. I think that's still probably the best WarioWare game, but that really elevated it. Just the full voice acting, especially Charles.
Absolutely.
All right, and so we do have a question from Sammy J9 who asked, "What's your favorite single Mario Martinet voice line or bit?"
It's So Long Gay Bowser.
So Long Gay Bowser. Yeah,
Iconic.
that's a good one.
I really like growing up. I mean, people have like this meme going on that it's So Long Gay Bowser, but it's like so long. I don't know, what is it really? It's not So Long Gay Bowser, but it's.
I think officially they said it was So Long King Bowser, but I don't buy that. I think he was just doing like an emphatic Italian accent. He was saying "So long, Bowser" like that.
Yeah, I thought it was a Italian word when I grew up, that it was Solonghi Bowser, and that Solonghi was some kind of like Italian slang for goodbye or something like that. But yeah,
if I had to. Yeah, mine is also from Mario 64, and as much as I like So Long Gay Bowser, I think I really like the very end of the game where he's like, "Thank you so much for playing my game." Like that's just stuck with me.
That's a good one, and it probably is also my choice too, especially since it's such a memorable punch at the end. Like, oh, you just you play through the whole game, you get that, and you just get that nice little message. I guess as another pick. There are a lot of like great voice clips that were both used and unused, or at least not commonly used, in Mario Sunshine. It's not my favorite Mario game, but it is one of my favorite Martinet performances. And the one line that immediately, and there are so many random lines that come to mind for that. There's him saying "Open Salami," or him saying and stuff like that. And it's just like Martinet really made Mario feel like my friend. I know that's kind of a weird, kind of a parasocial way to put it, but like he made that character feel really friendly and warm and silly and happy, and stuff like that is really like a good example of that, and that's one of the big reasons why I'm gonna miss Martinet's performances. Whoever they get to replace the role, and all of his roles are gonna have some very big shoes to fill.
And there's a second part to Sammy J. Knight's question where it's, what completely terrible or hilarious celebrity or voice actor would you pick to be the next Mario voice?
Look, they already had to make me listen to a movie where he was voiced by Chris Pratt. I mean, how much worse could they get, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I didn't have too much of an issue with Chris Pratt's performance as Mario, because he was just talking like a regular guy, and that's just kind of what they did in the movie, and it worked for what it was, but... I mean, they couldn't afford Chris Pratt for the actual games. That'd be, like, way too much. I'm gonna go with... As far as what terrible or hilarious voice actor... So, my pick would actually be Vinny from Vinesauce. I don't know if you ever watch his streams.
Oh, no.
But he, like, when he is, like, improvising Mario and Luigi, he actually bases it more on the Super Show portrayals of them. And... it's kind of bled into when I'm like streaming a Mario game or something. I'll just kind of do my impersonation of Vinny's impersonation of the Mario Brothers. So with like Luigi, I'll be like, "Oh, that's Mama Luigi to you, Mario." I kind of like that. And then Mario has like the more rough Brooklyn. It's like, "Oh, it's like Mama Mario always says," like kind of that. So I think that would be hilarious if like Vinny like took that and like was actually in the Mario games with that portrayal.
Oh my god.
Yeah, my pick would be a really long shot pick, but it would be super cool if there's like dubs for the next Mario game, and they have a Swedish dub with the Swedish voice actor who did the old Super Mario Brothers 3 cartoons. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I mean, I don't remember the Swedish version particularly, but yeah.
Yeah, but I grew up with those. Like, I mean, I watched them in like kindergarten. I'm talking like hardcore. Grew up with them, and to this day, I can remember almost like the vast majority of the lines in the Swedish dub because they were so iconic. They were like, "Här var det lite rörigt, eller hur?" Yeah, which means this is a little bit pipey, sort of. And yeah, I mean, this is hard to convey to people who don't speak Swedish, but trust me when I say that those lines, to me, at least personally, are like iconic Mario lines that would fit really perfectly in a game as a dub.
Okay. Yeah, so there's definitely some good options for the future, and it'll be interesting to see how they end up going. So it's getting to be that season again where people are starting to talk about the next Nintendo Direct. There is traditionally one in September. So hopefully we will be getting one in the next month. And I'll kind of kick off this conversation by going with another question from Sammy J9, who says, this one's a bit cliche, but for the September Direct, what's one thing you really want that's reasonably possible, and one thing you want that you'll never see, that'll never happen in a million years?
Well, I know what absolutely won't be happening at the next Nintendo Direct, and it's the announcement of a new 3D Mario game that I've been waiting for since okay, let me be nice. I've been waiting since Bowser's Fury. Realistically, that's going to be the big title for the next Nintendo system. And I doubt that any of that will be covered during this Direct, because Nintendo has a somewhat of a holiday slate that they want to cover, particularly with Mario Wonder, particularly like leading the charge there. Honestly, a lot of Mario games. We have the new WarioWare, and we have the Mario RPG remake all happening within like a 4 or 5 week span. So I imagine anything that's primarily for whatever the next Nintendo console is will just straight up not be shown. So I'm not expecting any of that stuff, but I always want a 3D Mario game. Always in my heart of hearts, I want it. If I'm being real, go on first.
I was gonna say I agree with you that'll probably be something that comes within like the first year of the next Switch console. But big 3D Mario always welcome, and yeah, I think Bowser's Fury was kind of like a 0.5 release or whatever. Like it'll hold us over, but it's not the full thing.
Mm-hmm.
Bowser's Fury is so good. I love that game
definitely.
so much. And if they do any sort of when they announce the 3D Mario, next 3D Mario, and it turns out that it's a continuation of the foundation that Bowser's Fury led, I would scream to the moon.
Yes, please.
I'm wondering how they would do that, because Bowser's Fury, it has like that whole open world area, and then like the Fury Bowser kind of puts a timer on like the segments you can play. But like expanding that into a full game, I'm wondering if they would still do kind of like zones like they have done in the past, and just make them more expansive, just to kind of get some variety in there, or if they would just straight up have a lot like giant interconnected world and then have it play out like a normal Mario game, because you can't repeat like the Bowser timer, but there's no necessarily reason to.
I feel like what they could do is have like 4 or 5 Bowser's Fury sized areas stitched together, using like oh, maybe there's a transportation system, or oh, there's like loading zones where, oh, you're crossing the bridge to get to the other place or whatever, or it's warp pipe travel or whatever. And then if you wanted to do something similar to the Fury Bowser mechanic, maybe you have like a day-night cycle where there are more subtle changes. You know, maybe there are certain challenges and things that you can only do during one time of day, and maybe there's a mechanic where you could do that change the time of day or something. And then maybe if you want to still have the more disruptive Fury Browser stuff, maybe save that for like one of the worlds, right? Because I think Bowser's Fury was the right length where the Fury Bowser mechanic didn't feel tiring. Like was paced really well for that. But I mean, if you're going to be doing that for 15, 20 hours, you know, that might be a little bit tricky. But if you decide to like space out what a Fury mechanic might be, or even just focus on the idea of, oh, these are bigger interconnected worlds like that, and I think you can make something really compelling.
Yeah, absolutely agreed.
They can maybe work with verticality, like Tears of the Kingdom, and have the worlds be like stretching up, and there's like a world in the clouds, just like we have cloud worlds in other Mario games, and the underground world, like we had underground worlds in past Mario games. Like they can still have the concept of a big open world, but have several like zones of it that can, one in the sky and one in the sea and one in the underground.
Yeah, it just sounds really compelling.
Mm-hmm. And you had mentioned briefly, like, maybe you can change day and night, and that reminds me how in Mario Maker 2, the different stage themes had different mechanics in day and night. So yeah, if they could, like, kind of pull that forward into a 3D game and, like, have the alternating thing where the level changes based off the time of day, that would actually be really cool.
What's your pick for the Never Happening in a Million Years, Vidi?
Yeah, because I guess... Yeah, because I guess new 3D Mario is probably going to come out at least within the next year. Never happening in a million years. Are we ever going to get a new F-Zero? I'm not even... Oh, wait, no. I know what my pick is. Can I please get another Kid Icarus game? Please? Please?
Yeah.
Hasn't Sakurai maybe hinted?
I feel like... between like what Sakurai said in one of his recent videos and stuff, I feel like there is a push to try and get either Kid Icarus Uprising ported or maybe a future thing, which would be cool. And also I think on a grand enough timescale, F-Zero will happen. It just depends on when.
They really need people who just like want to work on it and have the time to work on it. Because that seems to be the big thing with a lot of the Nintendo IPs. Star Fox and Pikmin get to come back because people at the company want to work on those properties. But something like Kid Icarus, Sakurai's like, okay, I did Uprising, I'm good, and you know, I did everything I wanted with the project, and I don't need to do it again. And now we haven't had another Kid Icarus game in over a decade.
Yeah, so if I may go on, my pick for the reasonably possible is because it is Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD would be my pick, simply because of ever since the release of Nier Automata on Switch, every single one of my top 10 games are now on Switch, except for Twilight Princess. So for me, For me, Switch has become like the ultimate console. Like if you, I didn't ever think it would be possible in 2017 if you would have said to me back then that this console in the future would have almost every single one of your top 10 games. But it's a wonderful feeling to just look at your library and be like, okay, everything I ever loved is here except for Twilight Princess. So for that,
I think
for that reason, I would love just to fill up that little hole in my Switch library would be so awesome.
I think every mainline Zelda game, is on Switch except for Twilight Princess and Wind Waker and the Four Swords games.
Yeah.
And Triforce Heroes and Link Between Worlds. Okay, there's still a few missing, but
yeah.
The 3DS games would definitely be a tricky thing to port, but you know, I think we've been waiting for Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD to come to the Switch for so long that sometimes almost feels like never happening in a million years to me. But we just did Tears. Tears of the Kingdom just came out. We're probably gonna be in a lull before the next system comes out. I think announcing Wind Waker and Twilight Princess as like early 2024 titles, could be like a really good idea to like give the system a little bit more of life before we move on to the new one, before we move on to the next system. I don't know how possible this will be technically. I know they managed to do it for Skyward Sword HD, but if they can get either Wind Waker or Twilight Princess running at 60 FPS, I know that would probably involve having to rewrite a lot of the logic like they did for Skyward Sword HD, but if they could manage, then I guess I'll be double dipping.
Yeah, same
definitely.
here. Same here. Wind Waker HD on OLED. I'm fainting. Just thinking about it.
What's your pick for the in a million years potential announcement?
This was my pick for a million years. I have sort of what was my pick for a million years? I sort of backpedaled a little ever since I saw the thread in the forum. That was me thinking about the Xenogears remake, because it is like a very odd game. It is in a very odd place where it's stuck on the PlayStation, and it's stuck like this tugging thing between Monolith and Square, and I don't know how the rights look like, and it's possibly like, I don't know how the infrastructure of the game is. Maybe it's like hard to port to system, so the alternatives would perhaps be to do a full-on remake. But it's so incredibly vast and ambitious, and if they were going to redo the second disc, it would be like, I don't know, longer and bigger than Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which is a lot. But the thing is that, yes, it's a weird title when it comes to being stuck on one system and having half a disc being like, quote-unquote incomplete. But it's so tantalizing that like the guy who was the creator and visionary of that game is technically working for Nintendo. I'm like, he's right there. Just get him to do it.
I have not played any of the older Xeno games, so I haven't played Xenogears or Xenosaga, but I would love to, especially if Monolith Soft came back and had a hand in development. And I could see Square and Bandai Namco both maybe allowing it just because of kind of the legacy of those games. But yeah, that would be an amazing announcement.
Such a legendary game, legendary part of the Squaresoft golden age, and also remade. I think it would really quality-wise stand like toe-to-toe with all of the 3 Xenoblade games, without a doubt.
Okay, so my picks, and I have said these many times on Famiboards, so people might recognize that. But as far as a realistic announcement that could happen, I want a new Fortune Street on the Switch. There's no reason for there not to be Fortune Street on the Switch. Mario Party sells millions of copies. Friggin' the I can't think of what it's called, but it's like a train planning game that's similar, that like is just selling ridiculous amounts in Japan. Like, people want the weird business party like game on the Switch. I demand it. The people demand it. Make it happen.
You think that Square Enix would go for another Dragon Quest Mario crossover for a new Fortune Street, or you think they'll just stick with their own characters this time?
I think so. They like to do, I think, the crossover appeal to sell it, because I know when they did the PlayStation exclusive one, which I don't think came to the West, which is also bizarre, but they did like Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, which granted that's still all Square Enix IP, but I do think they like to have that, and I think they would drastically increase their sales if they continued the Nintendo crossover for the Switch edition. Like, have either of you played Fortune Street? It's so good. It's so good.
I've played it very briefly. It's one of the few Mario games I actually don't own.
It's interesting because it kind of has like Monopoly is what I would describe the basis as, where you buy properties and people like have to pay you if you land on them. But it also has a stock market element where you can buy shares of other people's property and get dividends on when other people land on that. And like, it becomes a game of inflating your stock prices and selling off more so than the real estate part of it. And it's just like hilarious to play through with people trying to like out corporate each other. Yeah, it's a game I enjoy playing with my siblings, so I would love to see that on Switch. I think it's reasonable. I don't see why it hasn't happened. I'm a little upset it hasn't actually happened. We still play the Wii version. But as far as my game that probably won't be announced in a million years, but I want, Custom Robo. Like, why? Bring it back. It's awesome. It's an amazing game. It's like, just give me the GameCube remaster. I don't care. I just want more Custom Robo.
There's so many possibilities for GameCube remasters. It feels like they've sort of like soft opened the floodgates for that, where people are like not really expecting, like I don't think many of us expected for Baten Kaitos to be remade, for example. Like, it feels like that kind of floodgate has opened to the degree of people in the direct thread saying like, what will be this direct GameCube shadow drop? Because hopefully that will be a thing in the future, and if A could happen, why not B?
Yeah, definitely. And there's a wealth to draw from for the GameCube. And Custom Robo's a long shot. I think even F-Zero probably would have higher priority over it, and I could actually realistically see that potentially happening.
Yeah, I think that's it's a really great way to just reintroduce like the franchise on like a non NSO in a non NSO way. It's a nice bone to throw to the fans. You could get some new people interested, drum up some interest, but also not have to be an expensive release. It doesn't have to be doesn't have to be prime remastered style. It could be Pikmin 1+2 style. I think that's also sort of like the fun with it. We have such a range of what a remaster is. We can get something as big as a Metroid Prime, or we could get something that's more focused on, hey, we just want to bring this game or set of games to the system. Here's a convenient way to play them, especially since GameCube prices are going,
up
really
to
through
the
the
sky. And the roof. Roof and the sky.
What is the sky if not the Earth's roof?
Yeah, that's deep.
Extremely deep.
Or high. I guess that... Okay, anyway. Okay, so with this upcoming Direct, I think there are some games that we could probably realistically expect to see more of. Mario Wonder's the big one, since this would be the last opportunity to really promote it. There could be Tears of the Kingdom DLC. What do you think may be kind of like a safe bet?
Mario Wonder is absolutely a safe bet, and it's a very exciting safe bet, because I just can't wait to see more of that game. So I think that's a safe bet. I think Side Order DLC... the Splatoon DLC is definitely a safe bet. I think seeing more of Mario RPG and Luigi's Mansion. Did they say when Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon would be released? Or was it just...
I think it's vague 2024.
Oh, okay. And I think the Princess Peach game is perhaps a little more uncertain, because it will... because September Directs are usually focused on, like, they're the big holiday showcases, with sometimes finish off with like this big ambiguous 2024 thing, which I hope and also quite think would be Prime 4 this time. And then the biggest question mark for me personally is Tears of the Kingdom DLC. For me, it can happen like either way. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I think for me, my big question mark out of the stuff that we know Nintendo's coming out with that I'm not sure we'll see is probably the Peach game, because that game doesn't even have a real title yet.
What was it? Like, they titled it in the financial report, literally what they said in the Direct, where it's like, Princess Peach will feature as the main character in a brand new game or something like that.
Oh yeah.
My favorite title. I can't wait.
I hope they keep it like Octopath Traveler. They just keep the ridiculous title.
Oh no. I mean, I guess the game does have a sort of a stage show performance. So Princess Peach is starring as the lead role in whatever that play is. So maybe it's appropriate.
I don't think I think since those were dated as 2024, I'm not expecting to see those in this direct, but I could be wrong. As far as other safe bets, I can't really think of too much else that's safe. They'll probably follow up on the Pokemon DLC. And I'm sure there were a bunch of like Fae Farm or other things that they could probably talk about. But probably what's more exciting is like kind of the big things we want them to talk about, which there's only it might be a long shot. So I think like probably the biggest known quantity from Nintendo is Metroid Prime 4. I don't know if this could be the direct where they finally follow up on it.
I mean, game dev wise, it's like 2018 when it was rebooted. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. It's like 5 years, and 5 years is a lot of time. And if they're announcing it as a 2024 title, that's like 5 years or 5.5 years or maybe 6 years. That's like Tears of the Kingdom's development time. And that game was like, okay, Prime 4 was also probably delayed because internally delayed because of COVID, just like Tears of the Kingdom. But it's like, I just feels like the stars are aligning for Prime 4. I think when I and many others thought about it in June, that was more of like a quote-unquote dream announcement or dream re-reveal. So it feels like from now on, every direct is going to be a safer and safer bet on us seeing Prime 4. And I mean, Nintendo, they sort of seem to really enjoy having the leaning heavily in on the one more thing, bang, big banger, you know.
Yeah, I mean they have to show it eventually.
I think the
Sorry,
think the only thing that I wonder about this is that are they going to want to go for a more prolonged marketing cycle for Prime 4, like they really want to like build it up over time, or if they just want to go for, hey, this game has come out in 3 to 4 months, have at it. I know that's how they treated both Samus Returns and how they treated Dread. And
Dread, yeah.
obviously we know what they do at Prime Remastered, but I wonder if because this is going to be like a big, massive 3D title, they're like, hey, let's try to have more of a marketing cycle around it. Let's build it up. So I think if that's the case, where it is going to be like a longer hype cycle, because I have no idea when Prime 4 was going to release. If it's going to be released early 2024, next, late 2024 is like a cross-gen title, whatever. Maybe they're more willing to be like, all right, let's do a longer marketing for it. Or if this is really just, hey, we're doing it now, it's coming out early 2024. Either way, I would be really excited to see it.
What I think is interesting is that for a while there was this trifecta of faraway releases that was Prime 4, Bayonetta 3, and Breath of the Wild 2, as it was called back then. That was like the trifecta of like, oh, the one more thing is going to be this, or this, or this. And both Tears of the Kingdom, I mean, for various reasons that are perhaps more unique to it, had a very, 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 very long quote-unquote marketing cycle with it being revealed so early and stuff. But I'm thinking about Bayonetta 3, and that it was revealed in, correct me if I'm wrong, it was revealed in September 2021 as a 2022 title. So maybe they have the strategy of like, okay, these titles that has been like maybe prematurely announced, we might have to like announce them sooner rather than later because they've been so in the public consciousness for such a long time.
Yeah, that's fair. Like I personally think that Metroid Prime 4 is either going to be a cross-gen or a Switch 2 game. And I think because of that, it's going to be tied very heavily to the marketing of Switch 2, because they're not going to have a Zelda release. And they're not going to... They may have a Mario release, but I think they do need that kind of more hardcore crowd appeal game. So that's what I can see them doing. And I don't see the Switch 2 being announced this year. I think that's probably likely for maybe in the spring. So that's kind of the timeline I'm putting on Metroid Prime 4 and the Switch 2 to probably. I think the current speculation is it would be a holiday 2024 release. But I mean, do you think there's a possibility we might see Switch 2? I personally don't myself. I don't think this would be the time, but it could happen.
Either. No, I would say no. I think it's not. I think this time is not the time. It doesn't have the vibes for this direct, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. I don't think it's gonna happen all of a sudden. I think they're gonna make a bigger deal out of it than just saying, "Hey, we have a new system coming in this direct." Unless it's like the summer, not E3 direct, you know. But the expectations are usually a little different around that time of year. No, I don't think the September direct's the place for the next system.
Okay, yeah, and I guess we'll see. So, any other last minute big predictions for the direct, or?
Yeah, I know it's a unknown quantity. I'm just like channeling everything I possibly can channel for Tears of the Kingdom DLC, whatever that may be. If it's like, I don't know, a revamped master mode or some new costumes. Obviously, my biggest dream is that there's dramatic music and you see the panorama shot of Hyrule, and the camera goes up, and you see the Sky Islands. It goes up and up, and all of a sudden you see the stratosphere, and it goes up and up and up, and then you see a huge space station, and be like, finally, it is happening. We are going to space in the DLC. That's all I want.
Love that.
All I want.
All right, so we have we've got two more community questions. We've got one from Cyberwolf JV, who's asking, "How are y'all feeling about Donkey Kong's future plans this late in the Switch's life? Do you trust the EPD rumors and any hopes of what the game could be?" So as far as there's been that kind of persistent rumor that EPD has been working on 3D Donkey Kong. I don't know how much I trust it. I will say there is a Donkey Kong game I've wanted for a long time, which is completely made up by me, but I still want it to happen, where it would be a Bowser versus Donkey Kong game. Ooh. And it would be like a River City style brawler, where you choose either Bowser or Donkey Kong, and like the other is the final boss, and you have to like fight your way to the other one.
That's some Godzilla versus Kong energy going on.
Right?
I paid good money for that.
Yeah, see, get on it, Nintendo.
But things are very tricky for DK because clearly we can see them wanting to do stuff with the brand, the Mario movie, the Legos, the expansion of the Super Nintendo world happening next year, and and then in 2025 when Epic Universe is presumed to open, that'll also have Donkey Kong. So they have the plans to the IP outside of games, but within games, it's always been a little trickier. Now, I'm not sure what form the rumored EPD game will end up taking if it exists. Some have been saying it's a 2D platformer. Some have been saying it's 3D. If it's a 2D platformer, I don't know if I see them announcing it in this direct. I'm assuming they want to get Mario Wonder out of the way. They won't want anything taking Mario Wonder's, taking any of the wind out of its sails. So yeah. I assume if it's that. If it is a 3D project, I can potentially see them like announcing it for like early 2024 as like a swan song. But I feel like realistically, it's gonna be pick one of two. Either we'll get a Prime 4 announcement or we'll get a Donkey Kong announcement. I don't think both will be happening. I would love to be wrong, but that's like my gut feeling right now.
I think 3D DK could be a cool play for early life of Switch 2, if that is real, especially if they don't quite yet have the next 3D Mario lined up yet.
Yeah, if they want to do let's do 3D Donkey Kong near launch for like 2024. Oh, we'll do it. We'll celebrate the Donkey Kong Country anniversary. And then they save 3D Mario for like 2025, 40th anniversary of Super Mario Brothers. I think you could sort of work it like that, depending on like where the projects are, especially if it presumably is the Tokyo team, EPD8 working on it. I know the rumors have stated that they have 2 teams now to work on it, but if they want to do like one project and then the next you release their next product, that could be a way of them going about it.
Wasn't there a rumor at some point that like Activision was developing it for
What?
some reason? Yeah, I think I heard that, and I was just like, that makes no sense. But
Yeah, it was like they were doing work, and I think it was Toys for Bob was doing it. And I think they did that for like a year, but then it was supposedly the rumors like, okay, they kind of liked what they were doing, but they came to this mutual decision that they wanted to sort of bring it back in house, and that's why it's been a while since we haven't had a Donkey Kong game. I don't know how much stock there is in that rumor specifically. It was interesting to see the discussion going on around it. But yeah, that was the supposed rumor.
I want it to be true just because of how ridiculous it is.
I think the next Donkey Kong game has to be a 3D Donkey Kong game. I mentioned, I think, in a previous episode that so many IPs of Nintendo has gotten their magnum opus, so to speak, on the Switch, where you got the Smash Ultimate and Metroid Dread and Animal Crossing New Horizons, so all of these like huge, like definitive, like almost dang near flawless games. And what's interesting about Donkey Kong is that he already got his magnum opus game on the Wii U, which is Tropical Freeze.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that the time has come for Donkey Kong to get his 3D magnum opus. So I just feel that it's such a more smarter thing to do to finally bring Donkey Kong to excuse me. Finally bring Donkey Kong to 3D rather than doing like Tropical Freeze 2.
Yeah, I can get behind that. Really, DK is always unpredictable as far as what's coming next for him, so we'll just kind of have to see. But Nintendo's by no means like gonna put him on the back burner, I think. So I will see something from Donkey Kong before too long. Okay, and we did have a question from Meatbag, who said, in honor of Pikmin 4, if you could get 100 of any Pikmin to help you with daily life, which would you pick?
I'm going to keep things really simple. I want 50 purple Pikmin to lift heavy things, and then 50 winged Pikmin to lift things up into the air. Keep it simple, keep it very specialized for picking things up and putting them down.
I can really get behind that.
I had a very similar thought, because if you want to go by utility, the winged Pikmin and the purple Pikmin are like the objectively most useful. But I'm going to go for a wild card answer and say 100 white Pikmin. And the reason for that is they move fast. They're very fast. So they can get small objects move speedily, but they can also act as pest control if anything eats them. They're like immediately poisoned.
Okay.
That's a great answer. Though if one of those pests ate one of my precious Pikmin babies, then I think I might be the one who will be doing the killing.
There you go.
Please do not eat my plant. Please do not eat my 100 plant children.
Yeah, my answer would also be something like you said, Volcanic. I think your reasoning was very good, so I'm gonna adopt that for this question and say that yes, I want Pikmin to pick things up and then take them up. And that is because when I think about what Pikmin could do for me to help me with my daily life, is that I think about it every once in a while, because my room or my entire apartment is more often than not like unbelievably messy, and sometimes I like envision just sitting on the couch and watching Pikmin just like pick shit away from the floor, which would be very handy for me.
Okay. And before we kind of wrap up here, I did want to give a quick shout out to a thread that Jason posted, looks like last Friday or Thursday, which was an interview I did with a developer who's just going by the name Kamek. But it's a really good read. Kamek is a AAA developer that has great insights into the industry and the development process. And I think it's kind of really cool to have this content on Famiboards, so I'd love people to go support it and discuss and engage with it.
Absolutely, go check it out.
Great, and I think that'll do it for today's discussion. I'd like to thank my fellow discussion club members for their participation today, including those of you who sent us questions. If you're interested in continuing the discussion or sending us questions of your own, please be sure to check out this podcast companion thread on Famiboards.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to leave us some feedback. We're on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Or share this episode with someone you think would enjoy it. It will help the podcast grow a lot. So thanks again, everybody. Bye for now.
Goodbye.
Care, folks.